thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to 100 Not Out, featuring your hosts Dr. Damien Christoph and Marcus Pearce.
Hello and welcome to another edition of 100 Not Out, a weekly show dedicated to helping you master the art of aging well. My name is Marcus Pearce, and here I am with the tall poppy of all tall poppies. He is the legend, Dr. Damien Christoph. Hello, pal.
Hello, Marcus. The tall poppy.
Well, it's okay that we call you a tall poppy?
Yeah, I'm happy to be called a tall poppy. Everyone's a tall poppy.
That's it. Everyone is a tall poppy, and this is a
we've all got
very...
the syndrome.
This is a very sensitive discussion that we're going to have on 100 Not Out. But before we do, I want to give a couple of mentions to our incredible sponsors. The first one is the incredible forage range, Forage in Nature, Find Health. For more information, go to foragecereal.com. The second is the Greek island 100 Not Out Ikaria Longevity Retreat. Join Damo, myself, at this stage 11 others, could be more, if you're going to join us in June on the beautiful Greek island of Ikaria, June 20 to 29. If there's still space left, go to 100notout.com to find out all about it. Now, Damo, in a previous episode, we spoke about vision, mission, and purpose.
How good was that one?
It blew my mind in terms of some of the subtle differences, but some of the emotion that goes into each area of our life. But just at the end of the episode, we spoke about the tall poppy syndrome in Australia.
Yeah.
You spoke about your friend Alistair, professional golfer, who recognised the difference in attitude towards skill and living your life purpose in Australia compared to the hard work admiration that there is in, say, America.
Yeah.
And so we thought, let's talk about what we're going to nail down here is 5 steps to overcome the tall poppy syndrome. And this is not just if you're Australian, because I do think, despite there being subtle differences in culture and society, every part of the world can have a tall poppy syndrome where really people don't believe that you'll succeed. And if you do succeed, they won't actually give you the credit or the admiration or the congratulations for actually doing it.
The haters are going to hate, aren't they?
Absolutely.
We saw Dr. Ed Osborne post on Facebook that just one video that he made.
Who is Dr. Ed Osborne? For those that
the chiropractic philanthropist. He's a podcaster, very famous podcaster in the chiropractic profession. And he's just did a video, and that one video, and I'm happy to say this because he put it on Facebook, that one video made him $32,500. And he said, and chiros are hating me for it.
Wow.
Yeah, you know. So
I say good on him. You say good on him.
Good on you, mate. I want to know, how did you do that? I think that's incredible. But good on you, Ed, for doing that sort of thing and putting it out there. Transparency is key.
I think, and on that, transparency with money, particularly these days, it's starting to happen a little bit more. But like you say, because it's starting to happen a little bit more, the haters are going to hate, and people begin to jump up and down around that transparency. But on that level of transparency, it's still almost within us that we want to tell people, I did well on my school exam. We want to tell people, I nailed my piano test today. We want to tell people, I won here, or I did this, or I had a great dinner, or I had a really incredible experience.
Yeah.
But then there's still that flip side, and where it's almost as if people are trying to, I kind of want to say trying to bring us down, but almost like deflate our tires whilst we're in the midst of just celebrating our victories.
Yeah.
So before we get into these 5 steps, why do you think people try to soften other people's victories or successes?
It's the whole crab in the bucket scenario.
Well, what is the crab in the bucket scenario?
You've got a bucket full of crabs, and one crab tries to get out, and the rest of the other crabs are going, hey, look at that guy trying to get out. If I can't get out, he's not getting out, so they pull him back down. So it's like a normalisation.
If I can't get out, I'm not going to let him. Oh, righto. Yeah.
So it's that normalisation. It's an equalisation thing. Everyone's got to be the same. Everyone's got to be status quo, and everyone's got to agree to do exactly the same thing. It's not really... It's I don't even know how to describe it or how to label it, but you see that in order for people to move ahead, they almost need to dissociate themselves from their peers, because the peers are the ones generally who are going to pull them back.
Okay. I love this, because you're essentially saying that it's the other person fear about their own ability or their own belief in themselves that leads the behaviour to go down a tall poppy path, pulling them back in. Yeah, so it's got nothing to do with that other person.
Well, no, it's a bit of both. I think it's a bit of both. I think it's the the fear or the uncertainty as to how someone else will react if you're celebrating your success. And so do you then choose to not celebrate your success? Which,
Keep it quiet.
and I've done that in the past many times. In fact, it's been requested of me to not share my success. So
Do tell.
I don't know if I can. But anyway, it was requested of me to not share my success, particularly around family and friends. And so I very rarely will share the great things that are going on. But, maybe talk more about the struggles or the tough times, because people go, oh yeah, fair enough. We thought that might happen. So it's kind of better.
We didn't want to tell you,
Yeah.
but we could see that you were going to fail.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in order to pander to the lowest common denominator, I tend to talk down the opportunities and the amazing things that are happening in my life because of that. However, I think if I was in a different country or in a different environment where everybody goes, wow, Damo, that's amazing. I can't believe that's, that sort of stuff. Back when, even when I was in New Zealand, there was a little bit of tall poppy, but not as much as what there is in Australia.
Wow. I was going to say, was it New Zealand where you experienced it, but it wasn't. It was Australia.
It's here.
I want to know what it is. All right. So when I was writing down notes for this episode, I thought this, and I am very clear on wanting to put this out there. We are not coming from an ego point on this podcast by going, we're tall poppies and everyone else is down there and they've got to come up. What I said to Damien before I introduced him was, are you okay if I call you a tall poppy? And you said, well, we're all tall poppies, but a lot of us believe that there is the tall poppy and then there's the little Aussie battler, and the little Aussie battler is never going to be a tall poppy, and one is better than the other.
Yeah.
And I think we have to recognize as the listener or the viewer that it's really important that to even absorb what we're going to talk about on this episode, it must come from a belief that we are all tall poppies. And that is a wonderful thing. That we're all incredible human beings capable of incredible achievements and ways of being. And that there's not this us against them mentality. Because even though we might feel that in the conscious world where people want us to fail or they want us to suffer or they want us to not do anything that other people aren't doing, we have to recognize that there's perfection in that process as well.
Absolutely. I was picturing a field of poppies.
Yeah.
And all the poppies exactly the same height. And we've all got red and a little black centre full of seeds, right? That's what I was picturing, right? That's what I was picturing. And there was a couple of poppies that were out on the fence line. And there's a whole bunch of poppies that were actually caught in the middle of all these millions of poppies in the thing. And I thought to myself, is it the poppies that are on the fence line that are actually out there making a difference? Or are they the ones on the fringe that are trying to hang in there? So I'm trying to work out, what's a great metaphor for this. But essentially, we're all in this together and we all live in a symbiotic environment, and the closer we work together, the more productive we can be.
All right, well then this brings us beautifully to step number 1 in the 5 steps to overcoming the tall poppies.
Okay,
the tall poppy syndrome. First of all, number one is tell people thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that ridicule. You don't have to tell them to their face, but you have to feel a level of gratitude, of thanks, that these are people that you might actually think that they're the fire that's going to put out your dreams, but really they're the fuel that actually goes, you know what? There's people out there that don't believe in what I'm going to do. So what greater fuel is there? Not to prove them wrong, but to feel the satisfaction and that personal fulfillment that not only did I do something that I wanted to do, I did something that other people believed it could not be done.
Yeah.
And how good is that for them to see that great things can be done? Yeah,
it's great. And just the sequence of words, saying thank you, changes your whole mindset. It changes your physiology, brings your shoulders back. Rather than saying, I'm sorry, it's kind of, thank you. It's you're moving from an acceptance, or you're moving from a defeatist or a defensive kind of posture into an acceptance and a welcoming one.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it ties in beautifully with that symbiotic relationship that you said we all live in.
Yeah.
That symbiosis does mean that there will be people out there that don't necessarily agree with you or think it can be done.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that will support you and believe that it can be done.
Yeah.
But trying to create a one side actually removes the symbiosis.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we think. Step number 2, don't argue with these people that don't think that you can do it, or that if you've done it, actually put it down as an overnight success. Because my view is, I'd like to know what you think. You're not going to change their mind by way of argument.
Well, nobody ever wins an argument. No one.
Despite the fact that most people will still look for the last say
Yep.
to go, yeah,
Yep.
I was right.
And no one benefits from ridicule. So no one actually feels better for doing something that makes someone else feel poorly of themselves, or makes them feel a lesser human being. I can't imagine anybody, particularly if they're not a sociopath or if they're not a murderer or someone of, I don't know, undesirable standing.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anybody feeling good about making somebody feel bad. And so, to that extent, as soon as somebody's mind is made up about something, really, there's no point trying to convince them otherwise. If you're playing a game like a debating game and someone else gets to decide who debated better and who had the better points, then that's great. But it's highly likely that people will still walk away with their own opinion. What we spoke about in another podcast, only recently, when we spoke to Heather, and we're speaking about the shedders.
Yep.
Was the acknowledgement of difference of opinion as opposed to having to have everybody conform to the same thing. In Australia, we see conformation, and we see that everybody needs to conform to a particular set of guidelines,
Yes.
a particular system, a particular model, and if you're not doing that, then you seem to be an outlier, and it's the outliers that tend to make headlines in doing the wrong thing, good or bad, black or white. And the beautiful part of life is the color, but the black and white, or the right or wrong, or the absolutes, the fringes are the things that we tend to, mainly focus on.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love hearing you say that. As you say that, this is a bit off topic, but where I live, up in Byron Bay, there are so many hitchhikers.
Yeah, right.
And
Awesome.
and it's incredible. But where I come from, in suburban Melbourne, hitchhiking you would never do. It's just like the most dangerous thing that you would ever do. But like you say, the grey or the colour in all of it is that you just take a trip up north and you see this symbiosis. It's helping someone out. It's helping them get to the next town. They might not have the money. They might not have, obviously they don't have the car.
Or maybe that's part of how they want to do it.
And maybe exactly.
They could have
that's
billions
what I mean.
of dollars, but that's what they want to do.
Precisely. But we try and put a label on it, and go, well, it's good or it's bad.
Yeah.
Well, hold on a minute. Like, who are we to actually put it in? Like, I love what you say. It's the colour that a lot of us almost forget to acknowledge in our daily life. All right, step number 3, linked to step number 2. If you do want to change their mind, do the thing that they said that you couldn't do. So live your life purpose. Do the thing that you think is going to draw out the level of fulfillment in you that your life was dedicated to. Lead by example, but only because you want to, not because they said you couldn't do it. But recognize that if you want to change their mind, so to speak, inspire the living daylights out of them by living the best version of you.
I don't think that's going to work in all cases.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, but in all cases is a...
Yeah, but let's say, for example, somebody feels passionate about something. We could use religion here. Let's say, for example, somebody believes in one religion, but doesn't believe in another religion, or thinks that something is believable even if it's scientific. And so that they use an argument around belief as opposed to, well, this is what the evidence suggests. The fact that somebody believes in something means that they're not able to expand their consciousness or to expand their thoughts to anything outside of that belief structure. Whereas if they consider the evidence, then they'll look at both what works and what doesn't work. And so having a scientific mindset allows you to expand and explore other people's opinions. Science is meant to help you prove something and help explain something, not have you believe in something. So the belief of something is probably the biggest change or biggest challenge. So if you're trying to have somebody change their mind, you're actually trying to have them change their belief system. And I think that's really hard to do because the belief system is actually ingrained in somebody. And really what you're trying to do is present to them extra subject matter or extra information that would have them understand the reason why you do or did whatever you wanted to do and that you achieved it. Not that should then mean that they're on your side, but they should then be able to acknowledge that you have a difference of opinion.
And I think when I say this, I'm probably being a bit simplistic in terms of someone says that you can't run 100 meters in 10 seconds, and you don't try and argue with them. Because, like we said, that's not going to change their mind. But if it burns inside of you so much, because like you say, from a belief system, if it burns inside of someone so much that they actually genuinely want to do it, not to prove people wrong, but to express themselves in that way, then that's an incredible level of fulfillment that they get. I think what you're saying is that doesn't necessarily mean that doubter has a uplifted belief in the ability of humanity to do things.
Yeah.
Is that where you're coming from? That they're almost like doubtful by nature in that way. The haters are going to hate philosophy.
Yeah,
and just because you did it doesn't mean that they're going to go, well, good on you, and they're not going to have that epiphany necessarily.
No, most likely not. Likely not. But I think there's two different things here. So there's the ability to be black and white. So black and white will be you can or you can't. And so in order to show people that you can do it, then you just do it. If it's right or wrong, if their belief is that something is right or wrong, then you're never going to be able to change them, because if you do what you think is right and they think it's wrong, then that's never going to change, right? And so that's a belief system. If something is good or bad, it's the same thing. So depending on what it is, will determine what you could do. So number 3 could be a strategy for something that would be possible to do in the fact that somebody might think that that's impossible to do. So you could do that to prove the possibility. So
as a parent of a teenager, this is the example that I feel a lot of people have around angst around their parents. They're like, my parents didn't believe in me. They told me I couldn't do this, that I was worthless. Or the teacher when you were at school that said the best you could ever be would be a teacher. Type of thing.
No, that was a girlfriend.
So it was a girlfriend.
It was a girlfriend. I think we just broke it up. But it wasn't a teacher.
Holy moly.
I was actually told that I wasn't smart enough to study science by my science teacher. And so, 20
That's
years
incredible.
later.
I hope he or she is watching.
Yes, Miss Collins.
So, Mrs. Collins, if you're watching, Dr. Damien Christoph.
Thank you. Thanks for pushing me so that I could do number 3.
So it's there's a number of people out there that have specific people in mind that have cast doubt on their ability to do something. And what I think your perfect example about science and then becoming a chiropractor, naturopath, with just double, triple science degrees and all the rest of it, might not mean that Mrs. Collins is this inspired individual because of your feats. But linking it back to number 2, if they've said that you can't do this or that you could never do science, the example that you leave, or the example that you live by doing what you've done, kind of pushes beyond any doubt.
Absolutely.
That it's done.
For sure.
So, but you did it because you wanted to do it, not because Mr. Collins said you couldn't.
Wasn't a burning desire.
Yeah,
no.
Absolutely. All right, number 4, and this is the fear factor. That is that I would say all, not most, I would say all people that have tall poppy syndrome are coming out of fear. It's very much a don't leave the tribe. So it's exactly what you said about the crabs in the bucket.
Yeah.
And so to recognize that if you feel like you're being doubted by people around you, it's got nothing to do with you. It's their own fears every day of the week.
Absolutely. It's the fear that you might achieve something else that they couldn't achieve or didn't try to achieve. So it's really that's a motive that should be or could be used as a. I don't want to shoot on you. I hate being shooted on. People shoot on me every day.
You should read this book. You should come here. You should go to that restaurant. You should see that chorus. You should do this.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You should make this music. You should see this music. They do it better than you. So it's amazing.
No one does it better than you.
Forage. Hey, so nice little plug. Thanks. Look, the fear. I think the fear is right, and it boils down to the fact that someone else hasn't done all that they could have done. They haven't lived their true potential, or when they placed the bet that you couldn't do it, they chose to do something different, and you continued on your path, and then you got whatever they thought you couldn't do done, and they didn't get what they got done. So there's like, oh well, Joe Blow did this, and blah blah blah. They feel bad because they didn't live up to their own expectation of themselves.
And so I would just urge people, particularly, and this comes back to your vision around food.
Yeah.
I sense this so much in food. I still remember a story from my beautiful sister Olivia. She'd gone on a diet and she had a friend who was morbidly obese, and Olivia was going really well on her diet. And her friend said, let's go to McDonald's. Come on, let's go to McDonald's. Come on, let's catch up at McDonald's. Why won't you catch up with me at McDonald's? Come on, it's only a cheeseburger. It's only a quarter pounder. And it was like, just come back into the tribe. Come back to the tribe. Come back to the tribe. Like, please, please, please. Like, forget about that diet stuff. You'll do it anyway or whatever. Yeah. Like, come back. It happens so much with food. Almost to the point where we say, look, it's really important in a 100 not out sense to link your nutrition to your social life and to do it well. But at the same time, when tall poppy syndrome hits, I can understand why people don't want to socialize with their tribe if they feel that their tribe is trying to suck them, pulling them back.
Absolutely.
To a certain way of living or eating that they don't want to.
Yeah, making them live inside limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that all just comes down, doesn't it, to that fear base and then almost that having that strength. And that's probably the biggest key, that sense of self that is so strong that you have the conviction to say no, thank you, but no, I'm choosing to do it my way and not anyone else's way.
Absolutely.
Last step here is to plan to make it happen. There are so many people, and I'm sure you would agree with everyone that you've worked with, whose dreams, visions, overwhelm the living daylights out of them. They see the big vision, like we spoke about in vision, mission, purpose. They see that. But they don't actually plan for it. They don't have a mission. They don't know what their mission is. They don't know whether to podcast or blog or start a business, whether it's an online business, a bricks and mortar. Do they go and study and they're like, and that's why we did the whole mission, mission, purpose podcast. So make sure you listen to that episode. But if they're going to actually get rid of the tall poppy syndrome, not feel overwhelmed or fearful of that or the rest of it, there has to be a plan, because in my view, a plan builds confidence to make it all happen.
Yeah. Now, look, this is good for you because you're a details guy. I'm not a details guy by any stretch of imagination. So I couldn't have made this happen today. I could have, but not very easily, not to the detail that you could have. So, there's actually different levels of detail. Yeah. So you've got this detail. I've kind of got that detail.
Prettiness. Everything that's pretty on this is Damien's input.
Yeah, and so, but everything that sounds great and everything, that is cut together and the production of it is the way in which Mark is. This is what symbiosis is, right? This is, working together. But to put into place the steps that actually build this, for me, I don't want it to be high detail. I just need to know that I need to go and I need to do this. I need someone else to organise the seminars, the presentations, the breakthroughs. And I think that's the reason why some people call me a rock star, is because I kind of just turn up. I don't, but there's a perception that I just turn up. There's other people that just turn up, but I'm not one of those people, right? But I will do stuff and get things done. Yeah. But if I'm to do things and get things done, I need someone to direct me. I've got a vision of of what I'd love to see happen, but I need someone to tell me what those little steps are. Marcus is that sort of person. So for him, a plan or how to get a mission or how to pull a mission together, it's detail. So when we get a rundown for the Wellness Summit, it's detail. Like at 11:15, this is going to happen. Marcus asked me earlier on, what time are we having lunch? Or what time would you like to have lunch? I said, I don't know, after our next interview. Marcus goes, oh no, we'll have it at 12 o'clock. I'm like, well, why did you ask me? So he's got the detail, I've got the big picture, but we're still on the same mission.
So, I asked you, so you don't get hungry. But I get hungry, Damien doesn't get hungry.
I don't get hungry.
So, let me rephrase this then. Intend to make it happen. Yeah. So don't stop.
Have an intention.
Your intention. Like, I look at forage, right? Yeah. You look at all the detail in the packet there, you look at everything in there.
Yeah.
Just, there is attention to detail.
Yeah.
But you intended, there was no way that you weren't going to do it. So many people are stuck because they love the idea of the vision, but they actually haven't intended to make it happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's really key. Like you say, you've got your more visionary type, your more detail-oriented type. There's always an integration of the two. But you don't sit at home and go, I really like to make this happen, but this is not going to happen, and oh my gosh, and everyone doesn't think it can happen, and all the rest of it. Like, you just bullet a gate. Going, even if you're scared out of your brains, right? Yep. And even if fear enters, and I put it out there, like, I'm scared all the time, but that's a good thing. I'm a big believer that thrive on that.
Yeah.
But the big stuff has to, like, you want to be nervous, like kids go to school the first day, they go, Mummy, I'm nervous. Like, that's good. Like, if something is nerving, it means something to you. You actually know that this is a big part of your life, so don't be scared by the nerves. But if you're intending to do something, then, without sounding like a corny one-liner out of Susan Jeffers, feel the fear and do it anyway, whether it is by me doing detail-oriented stuff, or whether it is by you just making it happen. But on that, it would be really, I think, enlightening for someone like myself, but also a lot of our listeners and viewers, is to work out how do you materialize your grand visions? Like, let's use forage as an example. Like, where does all of that detail come from? It obviously comes from your brain, but in terms of implementing it, how does it happen?
You've got to take a leap. You've got to take a gamble. So, we caught up with a great mate last night, Marcus Yo. And Yoey is a great mate of, everybody who knows him. And I was celebrating with him the way in which he's building his life and how, step by step, things are coming together. So, there's a beautiful relationship. There's a next level to that beautiful relationship. Then there's houses and all that sort of thing. For Amber and I, we decided that instead of buying a house, we would buy a muesli. And so we've decided that that's what we wanted to bring to the planet. We could bring a house, but we decided that would feed more people. So, and that's a long-term vision. It's not a short-term vision. If I look at, again, I often put Carolyn Creswell up on a pedestal because she had a long-term vision that she was going to continue to own Carmen's forever. Regardless of whether or not it's a multi-billion-dollar company or whatever it is, she's still going to do it. And it's just a long-term thing. So for me, having this as a long-term vision, like having your house that you're going to live in for 25 or 30 years, this is our long-term vision. So in implementation, you've got to have people around you that support you and buy into your vision. So if you don't have those people, it makes it very, very difficult. And I do with Rebecca at Forage. She's unbelievable. She subscribes to my vision. And my vision personally, but also the vision of the company, because they're two separate visions. But we're in alignment in that regard, and you need to be surrounded by people that are in alignment with you. And when they're not in alignment, they go and do things that are untoward, and you don't want to be surrounded by those people.
So to get a little bit detail oriented on you, is Rebecca your detail oriented?
Detail girl.
Yeah.
So she's so detailed.
Yeah. So behind a visionary way of thinking, if you find it difficult to be detail oriented, and there are a lot of details that go into a business like this, from 240 grams versus 300 grams, you don't want to get that wrong detail wise.
That's right.
Like, obviously the graphics and all the rest of it, that is more Rebecca's scope, like to get things right on that important detail.
No, I wouldn't say it's to get right. She creates the detail, and then we both look at it together and go, does that work?
Yeah.
And so we bring in graphic designers, and obviously we'll bring in from the assembly perspective and putting the recipes together. That's my job. And then I go, okay, I've created a bircher, or I've created a porridge, or I've created a biscuit, or in fact, Rebecca created the biscuit. But if we, whatever we create, we back and forth and to and fro, but it involves conversation, and acknowledgement that we have difference of opinions.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much to talk about. I want to ask you one more thing.
Okay.
Before we go, there's a lot of people out there that listen to the Wellness Couch and love the idea of starting their own business, and for want of a better term, they have almost, and this is not everyone, this is just some of them, they've almost gone inverse tall poppy, where instead of looking down on people going, you can't do it, they look up at people on the couch and go, I can't do what they do, but I really want to do what they do. Since we're talking about this, let's just go 180 degrees. What advice do you have for people that are listening or watching who want to do this, but recognize that doing something like this means jumping into the land of tall poppies, so to speak?
I had this conversation just yesterday with somebody, and I was explaining to her. I won't mention who she was, but she'll know exactly who she is if she's watching and listening to this. That I spoke about building your tribe. And in order to build your tribe, it's all about giving value and actually giving people more information than what they would otherwise expect to get, or more value than what they would otherwise expect to get. Given that we do this free, people are getting a lot of value all the time. Like, this is it's an investment into something that you get to have at no fee, which is great. And then at the same time, we then need to create something that allows us to be able to put food on the table and pay the bills. So there's, equal
like
exchange.
a trip to Ikorea.
Yeah, that's right.
Or like a wellness summit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
But they have to be valuable.
They've got to be valuable, and so they still need to provide value. You just don't get money for nothing. But it's about building a tribe of people that agree with what you're doing, or are fascinated with what you're doing, and then taking that plunge and putting yourself in amongst those people and saying, well, this is how I've done it and this is what I want to share, and make sure you continue to share from the heart all of the knowledge that it keeps people interested enough that they then want to come back for more.
Fascinating. You're such a wise man.
Oh, I'll get it from you, Marcus.
Oh, thank you, Damien. This has been an incredible episode. So much wisdom as always. I'm hungry. You put chicken on the barbie.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to go and have some of Damo's beautiful roast chicken for lunch. Thank you so much for your wisdom, great man.
Pleasure.
It's
Thank
been
you,
incredible. We'd love to hear your feedback. What's your vision, mission, purpose? Have you succumbed to tall poppy syndrome? Have you been playing it safe and now you're ready to jump out and live your true life purpose? You can contact us in any number of ways. You can find out more about this episode at damienkristof.com. You can find out more at marcuspierce.com.au. Go to the Facebook page at facebook.com/100 not out and check out the incredible range of podcasts available at thewellnesscouch.com. Until next time, folks, as always, continue to make the rest of your life the best of your life.
This has been a production of thewellnesscouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on facebook.com/thewellnesscouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.